The clock on the wall reads 2:15 p.m. Providence Municipal Court is packed. Every seat is filled. People stand along the back wall. They came to watch Judge Frank Caprio. He's famous for his fairness, his kindness, his wisdom. But today, something different is about to happen. The bailiff calls the next case. Case number 2025, TR 94156. The State versus Walter Eugene Harrison. The courtroom doors open slowly. Very slowly. An elderly man walks in. He uses a wooden cane. His steps are small, careful. Each one takes effort. His hair is completely white. His face has deep wrinkles, lines that tell stories of nearly a century of life. He wears a brown cardigan sweater with patches on the elbows. His pants are pressed but old. His shoes are polished but worn at the heels. Walter Eugene Harrison is 96 years old. People in the gallery lean forward. This isn't what they expected. They thought they'd see another young person, another speeder making excuses. But this is different. Judge Caprio watches the old man approach. The judge's expression is soft, concerned. "Mr. Harrison, please take your time. There's no rush." Walter nods. He keeps walking. One step, then another. It takes him almost a minute to reach the defendant's table. He holds the edge of the table to steady himself. His hands shake slightly. Age has made them tremble. "Mr. Harrison," Judge Caprio says gently, "would you like to sit down?" "I can stand, Your Honor." Walter's voice is quiet but firm. There's pride in it. Dignity. "I've been sitting all morning at the hospital. I'd rather stand if that's okay." The word hospital hangs in the air. Judge Caprio picks up the file. He reads it quickly. His eyebrows rise. "Mr. Harrison, it says here you were clocked at 87 miles per hour on Route 95, in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. That's 32 miles over the speed limit. The officer noted you were weaving between lanes. Is this information correct?" Walter nods slowly. "Yes, Your Honor. That's correct." The gallery murmurs. 87 miles per hour. That's dangerous, especially for someone so old. People shake their heads. A woman whispers to her husband. An elderly man frowns. "Mr. Harrison, you've been driving for how many years?" Judge Caprio asks. "Since 1945, Your Honor. 79 years. Walter's voice cracks slightly. "Never had a speeding ticket. Never had an accident. Not one. My record was clean until last Tuesday." 79 years of clean driving, Judge Caprio repeats. He looks at the file again. "That's remarkable. So what happened last Tuesday? Why were you going 87 miles per hour? Walter takes a deep breath. His chest rises and falls. When he speaks, his voice is different. Heavier. Filled with something raw. Something painful. "My son called me. His name is Thomas. He's 68 years old. He lives in Boston. He called me at 3:47 in the afternoon. I remember the exact time because I looked at the clock on my kitchen wall." The courtroom is silent. Every person is focused on Walter. Listening. "Thomas told me he was in the emergency room at Mass General Hospital. He said his heart was failing. The doctor said it was serious. Very serious. He asked me." Walter's voice breaks. He pauses. Swallows hard. "He asked me if I could come see him. He said he didn't know how much time he had left." A woman in the gallery puts her hand over her mouth. Several people lean back in their seats. The weight of Walter's words settles over everyone. "So I got in my car," Walter continues. "I drove north. Providence to Boston is about 50 miles. I know that drive well. I've made it 1,000 times over the years. But this time was different. This time I was afraid. Afraid that if I didn't hurry, I wouldn't make it. Afraid that my boy would." He can't finish the sentence. Judge Caprio sets down the file. He removes his glasses. Rubs his eyes. "Mr. Harrison, I'm very sorry to hear about your son. How is Thomas doing now?" "He's alive, Your Honor. Barely. He had emergency surgery that night. They put in 3 stents. The doctors say the next 48 hours are critical. I've been at the hospital every day since Tuesday. Sleeping in the waiting room. That's why I look like this." Walter gestures to his wrinkled clothes. "I haven't been home." The gallery is completely quiet. You could hear a pin drop. The clerk wipes her eyes. The bailiff, a tough man who's seen everything, looks away. Even the prosecutor seems uncomfortable. Judge Caprio leans forward. "Mr. Harrison, I understand you were scared. I understand you wanted to see your son. Any father would feel that way. But 87 miles per hour? At your age, you could have been killed. You could have killed someone else. I know, Your Honor. Walter's voice is steady now. Accepting. I know what I did was wrong. I know it was dangerous. I've thought about it every day since. Every time I see my son in that hospital bed with those tubes and wires, I think about how I could have caused another family the same pain. Another father. Another son. He pauses, looks directly at Judge Caprio. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to take responsibility. I broke the law. I endangered people. Whatever punishment you think is right, I'll accept it. I just want to say one thing first. Go ahead, Judge Caprio says softly. I'm 96 years old. I've lived a long life. A good life. I was married to my wife, Dorothy, for 64 years before she passed. I have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren. I've seen wars, depressions, joy, sorrow, everything life has to offer. Walter's hands grip the table tighter. His knuckles turn white. But nothing in my entire life has scared me like that phone call. The idea that I might lose my son, that I might not get to say goodbye. It made me do something stupid, something I've never done before, and I'm ashamed of it. A tear rolls down Walter's cheek. He doesn't wipe it away. I don't know how much time I have left on this earth, Your Honor. Could be a day, could be a year, could be 5 years if I'm lucky. But however long it is, I'll carry the guilt of what I did. I'll carry the knowledge that I put others at risk. And I'll accept whatever consequences you decide. The courtroom erupts in whispers. People are crying. A man in the back row wipes his eyes with his sleeve. A young woman dabs at her face with a tissue. The clerk openly weeps. Judge Caprio is silent. He looks at Walter for a long moment. Then he looks at the file. Then back at Walter. His face shows the weight of what he must do. The balance between law and mercy. Between rules and humanity. If you believe justice should consider the full story, not just the facts, you'll want to see what Judge Caprio decides. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Officer Raymond Chen is called to testify. He's the state trooper who pulled Walter over. He approaches the stand. He's young, maybe 30 years old, fit, professional. He raises his right hand and swears to tell the truth. Officer Chen, the prosecutor begins, please describe what happened on September 17th at approximately 4:12 p.m. Officer Chen nods. He pulls out a small notebook. I was stationed on Route 95 northbound, just past the Route 10 interchange. I observed a 2008 Honda Civic traveling at a high rate of speed. I used my radar gun to clock the vehicle at 87 miles per hour in a posted 55-mile-per-hour zone. And what did you do? The prosecutor asks. I activated my lights and siren and pursued the vehicle. It took approximately 2 miles before the vehicle pulled over. During that time, I observed the vehicle weaving between lanes, changing from the right lane to the middle lane to the left lane and back again. It appeared the driver was trying to navigate around slower traffic. The prosecutor makes notes. And when you approached the vehicle, what did you observe? Officer Chen looks at Walter. There's something in his expression. Not anger. Not judgment. Something else. I observed an elderly male driver. He appeared distressed. His hands were shaking. He was crying. When I asked for his license and registration, he was having difficulty removing them from his wallet. His hands were trembling so much that he dropped his license twice. Did he say anything to you? The prosecutor asks. Yes. He immediately said, Officer, I'm so sorry. My son is dying. I need to get to Boston. Please, I need to get to Boston. Several people in the gallery gasp. The image is vivid. An old man crying, shaking, desperate. What did you do next? The prosecutor continues. I ran his license and registration. His record was completely clean. No violations. No warnings. Nothing. In 79 years of driving, this was his first incident of any kind. Judge Caprio interrupts. Officer Chen, in your professional opinion, was Mr. Harrison impaired? Was he under the influence of anything? No, Your Honor. He was completely sober. Just terrified. He kept repeating that his son was dying. That he needed to get to Mass General Hospital. He showed me his phone with the call log from his son. The call was made at 3:47 p.m. It lasted 3 minutes and 18 seconds. What happened after that? Judge Caprio asks. Officer Chen shifts his weight. Your Honor, I had a decision to make. The law required me to issue a citation for the speeding and reckless driving. But I also saw a father in pain. A man who had driven safely for nearly 80 years, suddenly making a terrible choice out of fear and love. He pauses. I issued the citation. But I also did something else. I called ahead to the Boston State Police. I asked them to provide an escort for Mr. Harrison from the state line to Mass General Hospital. I wanted to make sure he got there safely. And quickly. The courtroom explodes. People are talking, crying, clapping. Judge Caprio bangs his gavel. Order. Order, please. The room quiets down. Officer Chen, Judge Caprio says, you showed remarkable judgment and compassion. Thank you for your service. Officer Chen nods. He steps down from the stand. As he walks past Walter, he pauses. He puts his hand on the old man's shoulder. Walter looks up. Their eyes meet. No words are spoken. None are needed. The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, the state recognizes that this is an unusual case. Mr. Harrison's driving record speaks for itself. His motivation, while not excusing the behavior, is understandable. However, the law is clear. He was traveling at an extremely dangerous speed. He was weaving between lanes. He endangered himself and others. The state recommends a fine of $850, a 60-day license suspension, and mandatory driver safety course completion. Judge Caprio writes something down. Thank you. Mr. Harrison, would you like to add anything before I make my decision? Walter shakes his head. No, Your Honor. Whatever you decide is fair. Judge Caprio sits back in his chair. He's quiet for a moment, thinking. The entire courtroom waits. Every eye is on him. Every ear is listening for what he'll say next. Mr. Harrison, Judge Caprio begins, I've been a judge for many years. I've seen thousands of cases. Thousands of people stand where you're standing now. Most of them come in here with excuses, explanations, reasons why the law shouldn't apply to them, why they're special, why they deserve a break. He pauses. You didn't do that. You came in here and immediately took responsibility. You acknowledged what you did was wrong. You showed remorse. Real remorse. Not the kind of remorse that comes from getting caught. The kind that comes from genuinely understanding the consequences of your actions. Walter nods slowly. But here's what troubles me. Judge Caprio continues. You're 96 years old. You were driving 87 miles per hour. Mr. Harrison, at your age, your reaction time isn't what it used to be. Your vision isn't what it used to be. If a car had stopped suddenly in front of you, you might not have been able to stop in time. If a tire had blown out at that speed, you could have lost control. You could have crashed. You could have died. And you could have taken innocent people with you. The words are hard, but they're true. People in the gallery nod. They understand. The law exists for a reason. I understand you were scared, Judge Caprio says. His voice is softer now. I understand you love your son. I understand that when someone we love is in danger, we do things we normally wouldn't do. We take risks. We make bad choices. Because love makes us desperate. Love makes us irrational. He looks directly at Walter. But love doesn't give us the right to endanger others. Your son wouldn't want you to hurt someone else trying to reach him. Would he? Walter's voice is barely a whisper. No, Your Honor. He wouldn't. So here's what I need you to understand, Judge Caprio says. The law applies to everyone. Young and old. Rich and poor. Scared and calm. It has to. Because the moment we start making exceptions, the moment we say, well, he had a good reason, we open a door that can't be closed. Everyone has a good reason in their own mind. Everyone thinks their emergency is more important. The courtroom is silent. Absolutely silent. People are holding their breath. However, Judge Caprio continues, and that one word changes everything. The law also allows for discretion. It allows judges to consider context. To weigh not just what happened, but why it happened. To look at the whole person, not just the violation. He picks up a piece of paper. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to read something to you. It's from the report Officer Chen filed after he stopped you. May I? Walter nods. Judge Caprio reads. Subject appeared genuinely distraught. Hands shaking. Voice breaking. Repeated multiple times that his son was in the hospital. Subject has an exemplary driving record spanning nearly 8 decades. In my 12 years as a state trooper, I have never encountered a cleaner record. Subject was cooperative, respectful, took full responsibility immediately. In my professional opinion, this was a one-time lapse in judgment caused by extreme emotional distress, not a pattern of reckless behavior. Judge Caprio sets down the paper. Officer Chen is a good officer. He's tough but fair. He doesn't write reports like this often. In fact, I've reviewed hundreds of his reports. This is the only one where he's ever included a statement like this. That tells me something. People in the gallery are crying again. The clerk reaches for another tissue. The bailiff looks at the floor. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to ask you some questions, Judge Caprio says. And I need you to answer honestly. Can you do that? Yes, Your Honor. Have you ever driven that fast before? Ever? No, Your Honor. Never. Have you ever received any warnings? Any verbal warnings from officers, even if they didn't write a ticket? No, Your Honor. Never. In your 79 years of driving, have you ever caused an accident? Even a minor one? A fender bender in a parking lot? Anything? No, Your Honor. Never. Have you ever driven under the influence of alcohol? No, Your Honor. I don't drink. Never have. Have you ever driven while impaired by medication? While too tired? While distracted? No, Your Honor. Dorothy, my late wife, she always said I was the safest driver she knew. She said I drove like I was carrying precious cargo. And I was. I was carrying her. His voice breaks on the last word. Several people in the gallery openly sob. Judge Caprio removes his glasses. He rubs his eyes. When he speaks again, his voice is thick with emotion. Mr. Harrison, I'm a father. I have children. And I can't imagine getting a phone call like the one you received. I can't imagine the terror, the helplessness, the desperate need to be there, to hold your child's hand, to tell them you love them, to say goodbye if you have to. He pauses, composes himself. I also can't imagine being 96 years old and still having to worry about your children. Most people your age are being cared for by their children. But here you are, racing to Boston to be with your 68-year-old son because he's in the hospital. Life isn't fair sometimes, is it? No, Your Honor, Walter says quietly. It's not. How is Thomas today? Judge Caprio asks. Right now. This moment. He's stable, Your Honor. The doctors say he's improving. Slowly, but improving. They move him out of intensive care this morning. He's in a regular room now. That's why I'm here. He told me to come. He said, Dad, you have to take care of that ticket. You can't ignore it. Even from a hospital bed, he's worrying about me. That's the kind of man he is. Judge Caprio smiles. It's a sad smile, but genuine. He sounds like a good son. The best, Walter says. All three of my children are. Thomas, Rebecca, and Michael. I'm very lucky. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to make my ruling now, Judge Caprio says. He sits up straight. His voice becomes formal. Official. In the matter of Case 2025, TR 94156, the State versus Walter Eugene Harrison, I find the defendant guilty of speeding and reckless operation of a motor vehicle. The facts are not in dispute. The defendant was traveling 32 miles per hour over the posted speed limit and weaving between lanes. The gallery groans. Here it comes. The punishment. People brace themselves. However, Judge Caprio continues, I am exercising my discretion under Section 31-27-4 of the Rhode Island General Laws. This section allows judges to consider mitigating factors in traffic violations. The mitigating factors in this case are substantial. He counts on his fingers. First, the defendant has an exemplary driving record spanning 79 years. 0 violations. 0 accidents. 0 warnings. This is extraordinary and speaks to a lifetime of responsible behavior. Second, the defendant's actions were motivated by a genuine family emergency. His son was in critical condition in a hospital. This was not a fabrication. I have reviewed the hospital records submitted by the defense. Third, the defendant immediately took responsibility for his actions. He showed genuine remorse and understanding of the danger he created. Fourth, the arresting officer, a 12-year veteran of the state police, specifically noted the unusual circumstances and recommended leniency. He looks at Walter. Based on these factors, I am imposing the following sentence. The fine is reduced to $50. This represents court costs only. The defendant will pay no additional penalties. Gasps fill the courtroom. $50? That's it. People look at each other in shock. Furthermore, Judge Caprio continues, I am ordering a 30-day license suspension. But I am staying that suspension. That means it won't go into effect unless the defendant commits another violation within the next 2 years. Mr. Harrison, if you keep your nose clean, if you drive safely, this suspension will never actually happen. Your license will remain valid. More gasps. People can't believe it. This is mercy. Pure mercy. Additionally, Judge Caprio says, I am waiving the mandatory driver safety course requirement. At 96 years old, with your driving record, I don't think you need someone half your age telling you how to drive safely. You've proven you know how to drive safely. You just need to remember to do it even when you're scared. Walter's legs buckle slightly. He grabs the table. The bailiff moves forward, ready to help. But Walter steadies himself. Tears stream down his face. Mr. Harrison, do you understand the sentence? Judge Caprio asks. Yes, Your Honor. Walter can barely speak. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Judge Caprio says. I have some conditions. The room goes quiet again. Condition number 1. You will go back to that hospital. You will sit with your son. You will hold his hand. You will tell him you love him. And you will make me a promise. Promise me that no matter what emergency happens in the future, you will never drive like that again. You will call 911. You will call the police. You will ask for help. But you will not endanger yourself or others. Can you promise me that? I promise, Your Honor. I swear it. Condition number 2. When Thomas is well enough, when he's out of that hospital and recovered, you will bring him here to my courtroom. I want to meet the man who inspired his 96-year-old father to drive 87 miles per hour. I want to shake his hand. Can you do that? Walter smiles through his tears. Yes, Your Honor. He would be honored. Condition number 3. This is the most important one. Listen carefully. Everyone leans forward. You will live, Mr. Harrison. You will continue to live your life. You will continue to be there for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. You will not let guilt consume you. You will not let this mistake define you. You made one error in 79 years of driving. 1. That doesn't erase all the good you've done. All the times you drove safely. All the times you followed the rules. You are a good man who made a bad choice in a terrible moment. That's human. That's forgivable. Do you understand? Walter can't speak. He just nods. Tears fall freely now. He doesn't try to hide them. Judge Caprio stands up. He steps down from the bench. This is unusual. Judges don't normally leave the bench during proceedings. But Judge Caprio walks over to Walter. He extends his hand. Walter takes it. The two men shake hands. The 96-year-old defendant and the 84-year-old judge. Two men who have lived long lives. Who understand what matters. Who know that sometimes mercy is more powerful than punishment. Go be with your son, Judge Caprio says quietly. Case dismissed. The courtroom erupts. People are on their feet, clapping, crying, cheering. The sound is deafening. The bailiff doesn't even try to restore order. He's clapping too. The clerk is sobbing into her hands. The prosecutor nods approvingly. Even Officer Chen, standing at the back of the room, has tears in his eyes. Walter tries to walk out, but his legs are shaking. The bailiff comes over. Mr. Harrison, let me help you. Thank you, young man. Walter takes the bailiff's arm. Together they walk slowly toward the door. A woman in the front row stands up. She's elderly too, maybe 80 years old. God bless you, she calls out to Walter. A man in a business suit stands. You're a good father, he shouts. A young mother holding a baby stands. She doesn't say anything. She just nods at Walter. Respect. Understanding. Empathy. One by one, every person in the courtroom stands. They form two lines, a path for Walter to walk through. As he passes, people reach out. They touch his shoulder, squeeze his hand, pat his back. Silent gestures of support, of love, of shared humanity. It takes Walter 5 minutes to walk from the defendant's table to the courtroom doors. 5 minutes of connection, of community, of people recognizing themselves in this old man, recognizing their own parents, their own fears, their own capacity for mistakes born from love. When Walter finally reaches the doors, he turns around. He looks back at Judge Caprio, who has returned to the bench. Walter raises his hand. A simple wave. A gesture of gratitude that words can't capture. Judge Caprio waves back. Then he picks up the next file. Next case, he calls out. But his voice is different. Softer. Like something has changed. Like he's just been reminded why he became a judge in the first place. 6 weeks pass. It's a Thursday afternoon in late October. The leaves are changing colors. Orange and red and gold. The air is crisp. Fall in New England is beautiful. Providence Municipal Court is in session again. Judge Caprio is hearing a case about unpaid parking tickets. It's routine, mundane, the kind of case he hears a dozen times a day. The courtroom doors open. Walter Eugene Harrison walks in. But he's not alone. Next to him is a tall man with gray hair. He walks slowly too. Not as slowly as Walter, but deliberately. Carefully. The man's face is pale. He's lost weight. You can tell he's been sick. But he's smiling. Thomas Harrison is out of the hospital. The bailiff recognizes Walter immediately. Your Honor, I believe we have visitors. Judge Caprio looks up. His face breaks into a huge smile. He bangs the gavel. We're going to take a short recess. 5 minutes. He doesn't wait for a response. He steps down from the bench and walks toward Walter and Thomas. Mr. Harrison, Judge Caprio says, extending his hand. It's good to see you. Your Honor. Walter shakes his hand. I told you I'd come back. I want you to meet my son. This is Thomas. Judge Caprio turns to Thomas. Mr. Harrison, I'm very glad to see you up and walking. How are you feeling? Thomas's voice is weak but clear. Much better, Your Honor. Thanks to you. Thanks to me. Judge Caprio looks confused. I didn't do anything. Your doctors did the work. No, Your Honor. Thomas shakes his head. You did more than you know. When my dad told me what happened in your courtroom, it gave me hope. It reminded me that there's still goodness in the world. Still compassion. Still people who see beyond the rules to the human beings behind them. That hope helped me fight. It helped me want to live. The courtroom, which has been watching this exchange, erupts in applause again. People are crying. Again. Judge Caprio's courtroom has seen a lot of emotion, but these past few weeks have been extraordinary. Judge Caprio's eyes are wet. He blinks several times. Mr. Harrison, your father loves you very much. He drove 87 miles per hour to get to you. That's not something I recommend, but it's something I understand. Fathers and sons have a special bond. I know, Thomas says, and I'm grateful. For him, and for you. You could have taken his license. You could have made his life very difficult. Instead, you showed mercy. You trusted him. That trust means everything. Judge Caprio looks at both of them. Father and son, 96 and 68. Both standing there alive together. Gentlemen, would you do me a favor? Judge Caprio asks. Anything, Walter says. Would you mind if I took a photograph with you? I'd like to remember this moment. And I'd like to put it on the wall, in my chambers. As a reminder. A reminder of what? Thomas asks. A reminder that justice isn't just about following rules. It's about understanding people. It's about recognizing that we all make mistakes. And we all deserve a chance at redemption. The clerk comes over with a camera. The three men stand together. Judge Caprio in the middle. Walter on one side. Thomas on the other. They smile. The camera flashes. That photograph will hang in Judge Caprio's chambers for the rest of his career. And every time he has to make a difficult decision, every time he's torn between the letter of the law and the spirit of mercy, he'll look at that photograph. He'll remember the 96-year-old man who drove too fast because he loved his son too much. And he'll remember that sometimes the most important thing a judge can do is recognize the humanity in the people who stand before him. As Walter and Thomas prepare to leave, Walter reaches into his pocket. He pulls out an envelope. Your Honor, I wrote you something. I wanted to give it to you in person. Judge Caprio takes the envelope. May I read it now? If you'd like. Judge Caprio opens the envelope. Inside is a handwritten letter. The handwriting is shaky but legible. He reads it aloud. Dear Judge Caprio, I am 96 years old. I have lived through the Great Depression. I served in World War II. I lost friends in Korea. I watched my wife die of cancer. I've experienced more pain than most people can imagine. But I've also experienced more joy. 3 children, 8 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, a career as a schoolteacher for 42 years, a lifetime of memories. Judge Caprio's voice catches. He clears his throat and continues. In all those years, I've learned one thing. The world runs on rules, but it survives on compassion. Rules tell us what to do. Compassion tells us why we do it. You show me compassion when you could have shown me only rules. You saw a scared father instead of just a speeding driver. You understood that one mistake doesn't define a lifetime. For that, I will be grateful for whatever time I have left. Thank you for reminding me that there are still people like you in the world. People who lead with their hearts as much as their minds. Sincerely, Walter Eugene Harrison. The courtroom is silent. Completely silent. Then, slowly, people begin to stand. One by one. Row by row. Until everyone is on their feet. They applaud. Not for the judge. Not for Walter. But for the moment. For what it represents. For the reminder that in a world that often feels cold and hard, there are still pockets of warmth. Still instances of grace. Judge Caprio folds the letter carefully. He puts it back in the envelope. Mr. Harrison, I will treasure this. Thank you. Walter nods. Thomas puts his arm around his father's shoulders. Together they turn and walk out of the courtroom. Slowly. Father and son. 2 generations. Bound by love. Saved by mercy. After they leave, Judge Caprio returns to the bench. He bangs the gavel. Let's resume. Next case, please. But everyone in that courtroom knows something has changed. They've witnessed something rare. Something precious. They've seen justice tempered with mercy. They've seen the law serve humanity instead of overshadowing it. The case that day was about an unpaid parking ticket. The defendant was a young woman. Single mother. Working 2 jobs. She forgot to pay the $35 ticket. Now it had ballooned to $150 with late fees. She stands before Judge Caprio nervous. Scared. She explains her situation. She's trying. She really is. But life is hard. Money is tight. She forgot. That's all. She just forgot. Judge Caprio listens. He looks at her file. Then he looks at the photograph on his desk. The one taken just minutes ago. Walter and Thomas and him. 3 men who understand what matters. How much can you afford to pay? Judge Caprio asks the young woman. I can pay $20 today, Your Honor. And maybe $20 next month. I get paid on the 15th. Judge Caprio nods. The fine is reduced to $35. The original amount. No late fees. Pay me the $20 today. The rest when you can. And next time, set a reminder on your phone. Okay. The woman's eyes go wide. Really? You'll waive the late fees? Really, Judge Caprio says. Now, go take care of your kids. They need you. She thanks him. Over and over. She leaves the courtroom walking on air. The next defendant comes forward. Then another. And another. All day long, Judge Caprio hears cases. And all day long, Walter's words echo in his mind. The world runs on rules, but it survives on compassion. Months pass. Then a year. Then 2 years. Walter Eugene Harrison celebrates his 98th birthday. Thomas is there. So are Rebecca and Michael. All 8 grandchildren. All 12 great-grandchildren. They gather at Walter's small house. The same house he's lived in for 50 years. The same house where he got the phone call that changed everything. They eat cake. They sing. They laugh. Walter tells stories. Stories about Dorothy. Stories about when the kids were young. Stories about teaching school. Stories about life. As the evening winds down, Thomas pulls his father aside. Dad, I want to tell you something. What is it, son? Do you remember that day? The day you drove 87 miles per hour to get to me. Walter smiles. How could I forget? I think about it all the time. I need you to know something, Thomas says. His voice is serious. Heavy. I was scared that day. When I called you from a hospital, I was terrified. I thought I was dying. I thought those might be my last moments. And the only thing I wanted was to see you. To tell you I love you. To say goodbye if I had to. He pauses. Wipes his eyes. But you came. You broke every rule. You risked everything. You drove like a crazy person. He laughs through tears. And when you walked into that hospital room, when I saw your face, I knew everything would be okay. Because if you could do that for me, if you loved me that much, then I had to fight. I had to live. I couldn't let you down. Walter pulls Thomas into a hug. 2 men. Father and son. 98 and 70. Still together. Still fighting. Still loving. You could never let me down, Walter whispers. You're my boy. You'll always be my boy. They stand there, holding each other, while the rest of the family watches. while the sun sets outside the window, while life continues in all its messy, beautiful complexity. 3 months after Walter's 98th birthday, he passes away in his sleep. Peacefully, quietly, surrounded by family, he lived a full life. A good life. A life defined not by one speeding ticket, but by 98 years of love, dedication, teaching, and family. At his funeral, Judge Frank Caprio attends. He's retired now, but he comes to pay his respects. He sits in the back, not wanting to intrude. But Thomas sees him. He walks over. "Judge Caprio, thank you for coming." "Mr. Harrison, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your father was a remarkable man." "He was," Thomas agrees. "And you were part of what made his final years special. He talked about you often. About that day in court. About the mercy you showed him. It meant everything to him. It meant everything to all of us." Judge Caprio's eyes fill with tears. "Your father taught me something that day. He reminded me why I became a judge. Not to punish, but to help. Not to enforce rules blindly, but to see the people behind the cases. I'm grateful to him." Thomas nods. He would be glad to hear that. "He always said you were a good man. A fair man. The kind of man who makes the world better." After the funeral, as people gather for the reception, Thomas stands to speak. He talks about his father. About Walter's life. His career. His love for Dorothy. His devotion to family. And then he talks about that day. "My father made a mistake," Thomas says. "He drove way too fast. He could have been killed. He could have killed someone else. He knew that. He accepted that. But when he stood in front of Judge Caprio, he didn't just face judgment. He faced mercy. He faced a man who saw past the violation to the scared father underneath. And that mercy changed something in my dad. It lightened a burden he'd been carrying." Thomas looks around the room. At family. At friends. At neighbors. At Walter's former students. At the community that loved this man. "My father lived 98 years. He made thousands of choices. Most of them good. A few of them bad. But in the end, he was defined not by his mistakes, but by his character. By his love. By his dedication. And by the mercy shown to him by a judge who understood that we're all human. We all stumble. We all need grace sometimes." He raises his glass. "To Walter Eugene Harrison, a good man, a great father, a beloved grandfather and great-grandfather, and a reminder that love sometimes makes us do crazy things. But that's okay, because love is what makes us human." To Walter, the room echoes. Years later, Judge Caprio's story about Walter becomes one of his most famous cases. It's featured on television, on social media, in articles about compassionate justice. People share it, discuss it, debate it. Some people say Judge Caprio was too lenient, that speeding is dangerous regardless of the reason, that the law must be enforced equally. They have a point. Rules exist for a reason. But others say Judge Caprio did exactly what a judge should do. He considered the full context, the full person, the full story. He balanced justice with mercy. He remembered that laws are meant to serve people, not the other way around. The truth is probably somewhere in between. The truth is that judging is hard. That every case requires weighing competing values. That there are no perfect answers. But Walter's case reminds us of something important. It reminds us that behind every case number, every citation, every violation, there's a human being. Someone with a story. Someone with fears and hopes and loves. Someone who deserves to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. It reminds us that compassion isn't weakness. That mercy isn't the opposite of justice. That sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is recognize someone's humanity, even when they've made a mistake. It reminds us that we're all Walter at some point. All scared. All desperate. All willing to do things we normally wouldn't do when someone we love is in danger. And when those moments come, we hope. We hope that whoever judges us will see not just what we did, but why we did it. Not just the action, but the person. Walter Eugene Harrison drove 87 miles per hour to see his dying son. He broke the law. He endangered people. He made a terrible choice born from a beautiful emotion. And when he faced justice, he found mercy. Not because he deserved it, but because sometimes mercy is what we all need. Money can't buy compassion. Fame can't purchase understanding. Power can't guarantee empathy. But sometimes, if we're lucky, we encounter people who offer those things freely. People like Judge Frank Caprio. People who remind us that the world is harsher than it needs to be, and softer than we sometimes allow it to be.